Ladies and gentlemen, before giving the floor to the next speaker, may I kindly request the delegates to sit down and to keep the room quiet, please, so we can listen to our speakers. Thank you very much. Now, I call on the next speaker, Mrs. McElwee, Employers Delegate from Ireland, to address the conference. And I also call on the next speaker, Mr. Bukhari, Minister of State for Overseas, Pakistanis and Human Resource Development of Pakistan, to be prepared.
Madam Chair, distinguished delegates, it is an honour to address the plenary of the 108th session of the International Labour Conference in this, the centenary year, as we look to the future of work. Ireland has the youngest population in the EU. 1 in 3 of our citizens is under the age of 25. The population of the island of Ireland is predicted to, by some forecasters, to double to 10 million people by 2050. The demographic growth profile is matched by the economic one. In 2018, Ireland had the fastest growing economy in the EU. This year, it is forecast to be second fastest after Malta. This growth brings opportunities, but it also brings us challenges. How Ireland manages this growth will have implications for the coming years and for decades ahead, as more and more people seek employment and to enjoy good living standards in workplaces that are themselves undergoing significant change. Today, I would like to raise 3 areas that we as Ibec, as policy influencers, will focus on. Firstly, and some would argue it should always be the first item on the agenda, is education. 45 years ago, Ireland had the foresight to introduce free secondary school education for all our children. The ramifications of this momentous and enlightened decision are still felt today. At the heart of Ireland's business model is a highly educated English-speaking workforce. More than 3 out of 4 employers are confident that our graduates have the requisite academic knowledge as they enter the workforce. Yet challenges remain. More needs to be done to improve our university rankings. Ireland's lifelong learning rate is less than half the benchmark set by the EU and is significantly below what is required by a knowledge-based economy. We must harness a collaborative approach by educators, employers and government to develop employability skills that meet future workplace and society needs. We should use the curriculum as a catalyst for innovation and a way of embedding employability skills into the teaching, learning and assessment of our students. To do this effectively, we need to enable institutions to foster a culture of lifelong learning through progressive education policy and strategic funding. And we need to champion the role of employers in supporting the development of those relevant skills. Secondly, we must adapt to the changing circumstances by enabling flexibility at all life stages. The workforce and workplace of the future will be very different. It will be more diverse and more flexible. Balancing social and personal demands with the needs of employers and work can be difficult. A fundamental rethink of how we manage and support this new working relationship and environment is required. To manage this transformation, employers will need to facilitate and champion new and more adaptable ways of working, including making greater use of technology. Public policy also needs to change to better support those at work. We need an approach that does not discriminate or disincentivise work. Childcare, lifelong learning, retirement, pensions and taxation structures that keep people engaged with the labour market are a priority for Ireland. We need an approach that recognises employers must sustainably manage their businesses in line with national legislation and retaining the integrity of our voluntarist collective bargaining and industrial relations framework. We welcome the important decision of the Irish Government to ratify the Protocol of Forced Labour in January this year, recognising the importance of combating all forms of forced labour and ensuring measures are in place to ensure access to appropriate remedies. Thirdly, I'd like to stress the importance of maintaining a dynamic labour market. How we regulate our labour market will be a key factor in determining our ability to attract and retain employment and jobs in the economy. Businesses must be able to compete successfully in international markets. To achieve this, we need a balanced relationship between employer and employee. In a globally competitive economic environment, we need labour market policies to support the development of workplaces that are driven by dynamic science and technology. We need flexibility in our working practices and an ability to engage, whether directly or collectively. We need to be able to attract talent which is highly mobile to sustain strong economic growth. In conclusion, we are in the early stages of profound change in the workplace. To position Ireland and indeed Europe at the forefront of this workplace revolution, we need to adapt and be flexible. Well-designed policies supporting competitiveness and job creation will underpin our futures and help us deliver the next generation of innovative products, processes and services needed to support sustainable and decent employment. We must be ready, we must prepare, and we must ensure our children and their children have the workplace opportunities we were fortunate enough to enjoy. Thank you.